All right. Ready?
Is it the microphone?
That's the mic. All right. Good morning, Savannah. How do we stop that? There we go. I know, right? Just let it play, right? Welcome to the Savannah Business Showcase. I'm your host, Raz. Some of you know me as Raz.
Raz.
And I have an amazing guest today. One of my first guests and one of my most popular guests on YouTube and the interwebs, but definitely one of my funnest guests, and I'm happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I am here with Jules, Jesus Fritz.
You got it.
Yeah. And I don't know if I asked you this before, but I'll ask you again. So I usually start with the scenario. Did I do the scenario last time?
I don't remember.
You're walking through your neighborhood. A little kid comes up to you and says, "Jules, you're my hero."
No, you didn't do this last time.
Well, you're walking through your neighborhood.
Okay.
A little kid comes up to you and says, "Jules, you're my hero. And I want to be like you when I grow up." So in the language that a 10 or 12-year-old can understand, what does it take to be Jules de Jesus Fritz?
Listen to your intuition. That is it. If I could put it all in a nutshell, faith over fear, to follow that intuition. You know, so especially when you're in that age group of 10, 12, around there, I feel like you're getting the clues of what you're interested in, what your purpose is going to be. You start maybe even earlier than that. But a lot of times that's when I speak to the youth at that age, they're starting to recognize. They're like, oh, is that why I'm really drawn to this or that? It's like, yeah, it's the universe trying to give you that wink to get you on the right path. So if you try to stick with the crowd, if you try to stick with mainstream, you try to be normal or like everybody else, then you start to kind of ignore those signals, ignore those signs, and then it takes you on the wrong track, or it takes you on a different track that then brings you back to where you were supposed to be anyways. So I always encourage them to listen to that, trust it, follow it, keep moving forward.
Now, is that how old you were? Were you like 10 or 12 when you realized you want to be a makeup artist?
I was younger than that.
Okay, really?
Yeah. I
remember your story a little bit about buying the...
So this is round two for anybody who's just tuning in.
Definitely go listen to it.
You have to go listen to our first interview, which was, interestingly enough, before I went into the Airstream full time. So it's a good kind of... taking it back and then bringing it forward to where we are now, but which was super fun. We had a ball doing that one.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I know. Like, let's just
talking about the Airstream. Yeah, we definitely did.
So I started my first business at about age 8. And so that was beauty services. So I convinced my mom to let me do manicures and pedicures, and I would charge her versus having to mow the grass in Central Florida because we had a push mower and way too much grass. So I was smart, little entrepreneur self. You know, I was still me, just little, and so I didn't want to be out there in that heat. I didn't want to be out there working like that. So she was like, "Okay, well, if you're gonna do this, then it's got to be good." And pay attention to detail, and that's where all that kind of came from. So I speak to myself is what it is in every age, so if I'm talking to middle schoolers or elementary school, I'm just talking to me at that point, trying to basically be the person that I needed, the encourager that I needed.
That's right. I still hate cutting the grass.
Right?
Yeah. I have. Like my grass, I know my neighbors hate me secretly. Like they're really nice to me, but I know they hate me secretly because like all winter I just left it looking rough.
They like giving your grass like the side eye. They're like, "No, he didn't.
Yeah, leave
it like that. This whole neighborhood look good." I'm just kidding. I'm sure your grass is fine.
It is right now. But in 2 weeks we'll see.
Get you a lawn, dude.
I know I need to.
Just get some help, man.
I need to. But I also need to exercise. You know what I mean? So
because you have all this spare time. Let's be honest.
Right?
Yeah,
I have a lot of spare time.
You're like the hardest working man I know.
I'm glad you noticed that.
I do.
Yeah, cool. So, Jules, like, what do you have going on now? What are you doing now?
How much time do we have? So I recently, where do we start? In 2019, this week, right. So I, like I said, was in an Airstream full time for 2 years with my, at that point, family of 3, not including my 2 rescue dogs. And we were traveling around, having a ball. Ended up finding out that we needed the Airstream and the mobility that I felt so called to have because we needed to do a lot of caregiving for family. So thank you, God, that we had that avenue, that way to make it happen,
Right.
because it was really important. And so then we also went cross country, and we got to meet lots of other families and see how they were doing it and be inspired by their journeys. And so this whole time, knowing that God is completely lining out our steps, completely in divine order, trusting that, again, that faith over fear, to follow the intuition. And so we started to feel this call so strongly that there was a place where we were going to land, but we didn't know where that was. And we didn't know how we were going to get there if we didn't know where it was. But one step at a time, we knew that it would lead us there. So then right before actually we left for Colorado last summer, I found out I was pregnant. And then got back from the trip and then found out I was expecting twins. And so it was like, oh, this Airstream just got real small, and we got a 31-foot, ship. So it's pretty good size, but, it was like, oh, how are we going to make this work?
Yeah.
And then so again, going, okay, not sure of the plans, not sure of the directions of where we're supposed to go, but knowing that obviously if this double blessing is coming through, then there's got to be a magical huge plan that's working that I just may not have privy to yet. So so then we continue to follow that, and step by step it led us to a place called Hopeful, Georgia. Kid you not, Raz. Like, I can't make this stuff up. Hopeful, Georgia. Of course, right? Like, I almost wish I could look at the map now and just be like, that's where it's going to be, Yeah. And I actually said when we got to the area, I told Josh, he looked, my husband, we looked at the map and he said, baby, there's a Hopeful, Georgia around here. And I was like, I want to live there. And I believe that words are power. So here we are.
Yeah.
So we have this beautiful land that we're on. It's 25 acres and gigantic house that we just don't even know what to do with, because we're used to 200 square feet. Losing each other. Got to walkie-talkie it out. Just to...
He's told me about that.
Yeah. It's like, where you at? What losing insurance, losing my husband, So just having to transition to acclimate to all that space.
Yeah.
But really, we don't even feel like the house is ours. We feel like we are the shepherds. We are the stewards for this land, because it is going to be a sacred space. It is a sacred space for healing and for others to come and have that invitation for the inner work, for the family dynamics, that personal development, spiritual development, all that kind of stuff. So lots of good stuff coming.
Definitely.
Lots of good stuff coming.
So I'm pretty sure I asked you this last time, but what do you think makes you different? Right? Because you're like legit different.
Oh.
Because most people, like, people can say the same stuff that you say, but it doesn't really, their life's not changing. They could have the same terminology, the same belief system, but their life doesn't reflect it. So, like, what about you? What is it about you that you actually take action and believe what you say?
I believe it. It's that simple. I believe it. You have to believe it. You can't, if you can open a corner of your mind to the possibilities that what you're telling yourself, what you're believing, what you want to happen can actually happen, knowing that and in your heart, like in that space, that's like that secret door kind of place. That's where it really starts. And so for me, I genuinely believe it. Like, I know that because I practice something called the surrender experiment. My husband and I completely just almost throw ourselves out there. And people say, oh, you're so fearless and all this and that. And it's not that the fear doesn't exist. It's not that stuff doesn't, come up to scare you off, because whenever there's a great purpose, there's also a great force that's trying to derail you from that. So the thing is that I'm not feeding that, I'm instead like focused on the good, because I know the more that I focus on the good, the more that good will continue to grow, because I believe that thoughts plus feelings equal my outcome. And so my thoughts are my prayers. And so if I'm planting seeds into my future that include negativity, doubt, disbelief of myself, disbelief of the truth that I know, then what am I really planting? And then when the stuff flourishes and pops up, and then I'm like, oh, why did that thing happen? You know, why did it happen to me? It's like, you just gotta, you know, again, just believe it and really feel it in your soul, because you gotta work with it.
That's right.
You know, it's like God will never fail, or universe will never, whatever source, whatever name you want to put on it, never fails. I'm the one who can fail. So I have to make sure that I'm working with it to do my divine work.
That's right. Otherwise, it's like, what makes some people get really upset when bad things happen to them, but like, what makes you so special that bad things can happen to you? What makes you so perfect that, you know what I'm saying? Like,
things happen.
Things happen
like
to everybody.
Things happen to me. Like, bad things happen. You know, bad is a subjective word. You know, what I may consider as being like completely terrible and would wreck me may not be so bad for you. You know, and vice versa. So the thing is also making sure that my perspective is on point, and making sure that I'm taking on more of an observer role instead of feeling like it's so personally happening to me. Instead, I choose to look at it and say, well, what's the lesson here? What's the gift that this thing has come to bring me? Because it's all a work, you know, it's all an invitation for that inner work, you know. So sometimes it's an invitation to a party you don't necessarily want to attend because you've been, you know, pushing it back. But, you know, if you want to, all the love and all the goodness that I seek, I have to make room for. And in order for that room to be made, I got to let go of the other stuff, you know? So that's what I think.
Yeah. Oh, man. So you have a podcast now.
I do. I did have a podcast thanks to you. I was like, can't wait to talk about this on the air with you, because I'm so excited to tell everybody how big of an encourager you have been.
Well, I appreciate that.
And just how big of a friend you have been to me. And, you know, everybody needs a group that they can, you know, tap into and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And, you know, what do you think? And so to be a soundboard to, you know, not necessarily like you need permission, but just you need that encouragement that other person to see you and say, I know that you can do it. Definitely. And so you started that encouragement when you said, just start. Yeah. Just start, Jules. Like, start right where you are. And that echoed the truth inside of me. And so I started, and what that ended up being was more of a guided meditation podcast, which is what I needed at that point. And let's be honest, I always do whatever it is for my own well-being. Like, if anybody else gets anything out of it, that's a bonus.
That's great. Yeah.
Like, cool, glad that worked out, but it was really just for me to listen to later. You know, and sometimes I forget it's me, like my voice. It's just because it's the truth. It's the tone of the truth that hits my heart. And so I took a break when we traveled this summer, because we were in all sorts of remote places. Like, I had to travel 30 minutes to check my email in one location, you know, and I loved it. I was like, this paperweight of a phone, get out of here, you know? And so I took a break from the podcasting because it was just getting too difficult to record and all that stuff and edit. And I really wanted to enjoy the adventure with my family. And I knew that the family was going to grow. So it was like such a sweet moment in time. Yeah. And I just wanted to absorb all of that. Yeah. And I worked on writing instead. And so I started, grateful for Paprika Southern Magazine. They gave me an opportunity to not only share my story, but to write my story. It's called Rewritten, the Truth I've Never Really Told Before. Juicy, right? Yeah. That's a good title. Definitely a good title. And so, you know, I worked on that. It's hard to write. It's hard to translate your voice into words, into written words that people can feel the warmth and feel the humor, the charisma, all that kind of stuff. So then when we got to the Hopeful House, there were so many gigantic stories and testimonies that had been happening to me, and I couldn't write them fast enough. And it's because I almost had to talk them out to get the words, to get the story. And so that's when I reached out to you, and I was like, hey, I need the encouragement. And you're like, let's do this and I'll help you. And this is my whole business model, is helping podcasters get going. So shout out to you, my friend, and, you know, helping me get the good work out there.
Anytime. And it's you and I get that too. Like you do need that mentor. I've met a couple other business mentors, and they haven't really done much for me, but the fact that they said you're doing something great, it means a lot. It means more than anything else, right?
Right.
Because you can go on internet and Google anything you want to, any answer to anything, but just to hear that is awesome. I'm glad we could, be there for each other as well. Because whenever you send me an email, it's like, okay, cool. Saying now I know I'm going to get something spiritually rejuvenating whenever you send an email.
Okay, awesome.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's just having that space, I think, is when you make space for the other person and you sit with them and you just let them kind of work through it. And I actually just wrote something for Paprika that's out right now, The Art of Listening. And it's all about empathetic listening. And the majority of the time as the listener, like, you don't need me to say anything. You just need me to hold space for you so you can work it out and just allow you to work through it as you need to, because sometimes, hearing it is all you need. You don't necessarily need somebody to validate it or, put a permission slip on it. It's just, allowing yourself to work through it.
So I want to come back to faith over fear. I like that a lot.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Divine mind. Tapping in.
I like that a lot because that's the beauty of faith, right? It's not something that's weak. Faith is something that's strong, and it can overcome fear. It can overcome doubt and anxiety and worry. Right. So like, where did that come from, and how do you use it on a regular basis? Is it a hashtag that you use all the time? Like, what is it?
It's just a personal mantra to remind me to stay straight, to not get sidetracked with all the nonsense, all the noise, we all have this internal chatter that's constantly going on. It's like almost a narrator that's in our brain telling us what's happening. And that narrator will also
lie to you.
Yes. Not only lie to you, but build stories by pulling these things together. And then so you have to check yourself and say, what story am I telling myself right now? And when you do that and you identify that there is a narrative going on, then you have to question the narrative. Is it true? Is this true? What is true? And a lot of times what's true is that I may be scared because of XYZ, I may be unsure because we're always, whenever we get to looking at the future, it's always unknown. And that in itself is like instant anxiety, And so, but we also try to plan there. We try to control that. And that's the thing. We have no control over it. Let's be honest. Like, I know that we would all love to be like, I control every aspect of my life. But that's when the universe comes in to remind you that you actually are not the one calling the shots. That's right. You have a certain amount of purpose that was given to you, like your inherent birthright. Up to you. Your free will is up to you if you use it. Up to you if you take that purpose to where it needs to go, to the tippy top, right? But it's also up to me if I don't do anything with it. That's my free will. But the plan is grand, so that's what I understood. I followed my intuition so many times and it worked out, and it didn't make sense to anybody else. And then there are times where I didn't, and I knew better, and I still kind of did it. I didn't follow it to make other people feel comfortable. And then it reminded me, like, don't you do that. Right. Don't you do that again. I'm giving you clear instructions.
That's right. That's right.
I'm giving you clear directions, and it's like an internal GPS is how I like to look at it. So, when I go off route, I get rerouted, and that's where the quote unquote bad stuff, can happen. But really, it's just a blessing in disguise, because you can only get so far off course before you're going to get rerouted. That's right. Because again, there's all a greater work at work. And if you don't want to tap into it, you don't want to admit it, that's fine. It's still happening. Still happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then even, I lost it that quick.
It'll come back.
It'll come back later. Yeah. Yes. So the story you wrote in Paprika, I haven't read it, but I know a little bit about it.
Let me go.
So what?
Thought we were friends.
Tell us a little bit about that story. Like what's the story about?
The story is so good. Anyways, it's okay. I'm gonna let you slide on that one. I'm just kidding. I know you're so busy, right?
I'll read it tonight.
The story is basically my journey of of following that intuition. So Paprika asked me they gave me a guideline of how to share the story, and what they were looking for. And so what they asked for was my journey of coming to Savannah to become a professional makeup artist, and how intuition had a role in that, and where taking me to the Jules Loves Me mission and where I am now. So basically, like, how you got here, got to makeup, and then from makeup got to the mission work that you're doing now, right? So that was a story. But what they didn't know is there was another story before that I had to tell, and I hadn't told it. And I believe it was about 11 years that I hadn't told the story publicly. And I kind of 2 years ago started to get the clue that I was going to have to come clean on this. And I was like, I don't know how. Am I going to deliver a talk? And that's going to be like, the message in the talk, whatever. And it wasn't until that they said the layout of the story that I knew that I was going to have to tell the truth. And I didn't even tell them that I was going to do this. And I just wrote it and sent it in. And it was like, okay, guys, please love me. And the deeper story was that I came to Savannah with so much drive and determination because I was actually terminally ill at that point when I got to Savannah in 2007. Wow. And so like nobody knew that. Yeah. And I didn't want anybody to know that. And I had an inoperable brain tumor. And so I was diagnosed in 2006 after I was working at a big box retailer doing a display in store. And the company culture was you do the displays during business hours. And so I had a 20-foot tall ladder. I had a box on top of that ladder that was about 20 pounds worth of peg hooks. And so I was looking at the wall and trying to figure out how to do this display, and a customer hit my ladder with their cart. And so again, I'm just looking at the display, and as if there were a bullseye on my head, this box fell right on my head. Wow. And jammed my neck. And I thought somebody hit me with a bat. I didn't know what happened. I just, I didn't pass out. The doctor said, "How did you not fall down?" I was like, pride kept me up. I was like, like the woozy, like I'm drunk kind of stumbling. And so went to the doctor. Doctor was like, first of all, thank God you're not paralyzed. Like that's a miracle in itself, because I had 3 ruptured discs in my C-spine. Wow. And he said, "But I hate to deliver this news to you, but we have found that you have a tumor." And the location of it is in a place that we're not going to be able to biopsy it. We may disrupt it and then cause more problems. So right now, the course of action that we're going to take is for you not to stress out. I'm 26 years old, Raz. They're like, you just, you're basically finding out that your life is shorter than you think. Because at 26, you're invincible. You think you have like a million years ahead of you, right? And then in the same breath, but don't stress about it. And I was like, what? Wah, 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 wah. And so and my father had passed away from an inoperable brain tumor 6 months prior. Wow. So it definitely was hitting some major triggers of fear within me, especially the fear of death, and which is a big one for most of us. And so he said that if I stressed out, that they knew that would accelerate my symptoms. And so I did my best to not stress out. The medicine made me really sick. It was really isolating. I went through a really hard time with it. Some friends didn't know how to handle the news, and they decided it was better to remember me the way I was and didn't want to go on the journey with me. Wow. And it's okay, because things like that happen so you can find out who's really riding with you. Yeah. Sometimes when you're in the limo, everybody wants to get in, but when you're riding in the hoopty, who's really with you.
That's right.
And you need to know that. And it's okay. And so I essentially just decided, well, if I'm going to die anyways, let me figure out, what I really want to do. And I left out a really good part of the story, actually. I hated that job. I hated that job so bad that because I was not in the right position. Right. Even though on paper I was in the right position, I was trying to chase this salary and, trying to get climb that ladder. And I prayed that I if I were going down the wrong path, if I were in the wrong direction, that I get rerouted. And that if I missed the sign, to drop a box on my head.
Did you really?
Yes. Now I know, like, pray for a pillow to drop, but so I prayed for a box, and then lo and behold, a box fell on my head, and I was like, seriously?
Wow.
Yeah. So, but as soon as that box hit me, it was workers' comp, and I was out.
Yeah.
So it was like a huge, sign of you were not in the right place. You needed to be taken out of here and put where you needed to be. And so I decided to pursue being a makeup artist. And I had a beauty background since 1997 and stuff, working makeup counters and that kind of thing. And at that point in 2007, makeup artistry wasn't really a big thing, especially on location. And so I decided to launch that in Savannah. And so when I did that, it was really clear that now I'm in alignment with my purpose, because things started popping off. And so I'm going to leave you with that, because you need to read this article and figure out what happens next.
I think I know what happens next. The J5.
Well, I'm here.
The J5 happens next.
5 Alive, J5. And J5, so anybody who's listening who doesn't know what that means, my children and my husband are all names start with J. So all the J's, J5. There's 5 of us.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a short break. On that note, how can people find you?
How can people find me?
Yeah.
I'm so easy to find. So at Jules, Jules, loves.me is Instagram, Facebook, and the website is www.julesloves.me as well. So pretty easy.
Okay, cool. So we're going to take a short break. I don't want to say anything to mess up the story, so we're going to move on to a break.
You can't mess it up. Don't worry.
I was just going to let people sit with that.
Yes.
Because it is power to your words. Thoughts lead to words lead to actions. You know what I mean?
Thoughts plus feelings equal outcome.
That's right. Yeah. So, guys, we'll be right back in just a second.
Hang in there with us.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see you when you come back.
And we'll come back with the lightning round. I'll put it through it again.
Ooh.
All right. Hold on. Peace. All right, Savannah, we're back with the Savannah Business Showcase. I'm here once again with my friends. We got 2 here with friend Jules, the Jesus Fritz. I always get messed up. Like, I always start stuttering when we get together. I don't know why it is. Every time. Usually I'm like smooth. Say I got my stuff together. I'm able to like coach people.
It's because the energy is so exciting.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't get it out right.
Yay! It's just like a party every time.
So I don't know if I told you this story, not about me, but when I was born, I was born with epilepsy.
I did not know that.
Yeah, most people don't. Yeah, I don't. It's another one of those things I don't tell, but I think that's why. So I was supposed to have it for my life, right? I should still have it now, but it went away by kindergarten. My first year of kindergarten, it was just gone. Nothing happened.
Thank you, God.
Yeah.
And now look at you with a microphone.
No, right? I'm still stuttering.
Just doing things. Amazing. What a testimony.
Yeah. But like my mother, she taught me how to pray when I was a kid. Yeah. And she told me to, at the end of every prayer, I was supposed to say, she might be listening now. I was supposed to say, Lord, take all my seizures and throw them in the trash can.
Take all your seizures and throw them in the trash can.
Yeah. And every night when I prayed, I said that.
Your mama taught you that? Yeah. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. So and they technically went away. I don't know if they could ever come back again, but they're gone.
Taraz, seriously. So I'm going to give you now a sneak peek. So the story I was saying about the brain tumor, it was all through. So the brain tumor vanished. It shrunk, went away because I completely activated positive thinking, and I visualized that it wasn't mine.
Right.
It was only there to get my attention, to get me out of my situation and give me enough confidence in my purpose of moving forward in the direction I was supposed to move in. I don't think I would have been as fearless without that. You know, it's like a near-death experience when people come back and then like they explode and they have all these things because they have no fear of dying because they've already kind of been there. It was like that, So I believe that what your mom taught you to do was claim that healing, claim that blessing, and lean into the good. So thank you, Mama. Thank you, Teraz's mama. Love you, girl.
Yeah, it was. And I definitely thank her for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's something about that, having a traumatic experience or having a life-changing, altering thing that you you have to believe in something.
Yeah.
You know, at that point, you have to believe in something.
Right.
Otherwise, what's it all for?
Right. You need the arc. You need something greater than yourself to almost hang on to when it gets real hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because my human self, it's like, you know, I'm not strong enough. But when I lean into the faith, then I'm supercharged. Then I cannot fail because I have that power surging through my veins, you know, and it's going to lead me to my divine destiny, you know, period. And so I know that. And I, again, believe that. But it's so important for us to talk about it because a lot of times people are so church hurt or they, you know, they can't even hear the word God because there's so many different attachments to it.
That's right.
And the thing is, it's like those words are for us. You know, God doesn't need a name. God is that expansive that it's, you know, it's whatever you want to put on it. Just make sure you're connecting. Right. Because how did you get here? You know, and why did you get here? You have to remember and honor that light that is inside of you that you didn't put there is also inside of me. And all of that light comes from one divine source, one power.
That's right.
And so,
that's why we're all connected.
That's why we're all connected. That's why we're all connected. So, and we can recognize it in each other. And I think that's why we get so excited when we see each other because we recognize that light, you know, we recognize that goodness. Absolutely. And we know that that's the, you know, master creator at work, you know, and it's showing up. So, you know, you show up as God in the skin for me when you say, keep going, start before you're ready, you know, and I hear, and that tone hits my truth bell. And I know that God is speaking through you to me. So, amen. Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right, man. I don't want this to be a big love fest. So let's get into some questions.
Man, we done been past that. You know, we have church up in here.
Right? Let's see if it's something I haven't asked you before.
Okay.
Probably not much. What was one of the best events or get-togethers that you've ever been to?
Best events or
like, yeah, what's one of the best events you've ever been to? And this is the lightning round, so I'm gonna answer a bunch of random questions if this is your first time listening.
Is it like professional or personal? Like, does it
whatever
matter?
comes to your mind? No, it doesn't matter.
Oh man, well, so before Josh and I got married, the day before, we had something called a welcome reception because about 90% of our guest list was coming from out of town. And there was something so next level about having all of our family together in a non-stressful kind of party. And the amount of love and just excitement that was going on in that room was something that will live in my heart forever. I mean, it was just pure magic, you know, and it was a moment in time, you know, with all these 13 plus billion years, you know, all these things can happen. But in that moment in time, all of these people that I love were together. Yeah. And that is so special. And so that's one of those moments that lives in my heart. So
that's beautiful. Yeah, my wife watches a lot of reality TV. And anytime there's a wedding or get together, there's always a lot of drama. Or reality TV. So I don't understand how people live like that almost, you know?
You know, I hate to be a spoiler alert, but, you know, we work in TV with our agency and all. It's not real.
The drama's not real? It's just made, it's just fabricated?
Choreographed.
Gotcha.
You know, it's for ratings. Yeah. So, you know, I hate to...
No, I'm glad you did.
Your wife's probably mad at me right now. She's like, don't ruin it for me.
She doesn't care.
But you know, it's not. It's reality TV, but it's false reality.
Got you.
So,
okay, that's good to know actually, because I was wondering like if people really live like that.
No, there's like scenes.
Yeah.
There's today we're gonna have this scene and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I thought I was going crazy.
No, they just making the people crazy. That's what happens. They pitting them against each other.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, I actually did. One thing you don't know about me is I did a pilot for a reality show a few years ago.
Okay.
And they sold me on it because it was going to be a docuseries, more like American Pickers, like where they, you know, it's a positive kind of thing. Bull. It wasn't anything like that. It was, they were trying to cast me as the spicy Latina. And so they had someone pick a fight with me. And I was like, what just happened? Yeah. And then so I talked to the producers and I found, and that person that picked a fight with me winked at me to let me know. And I was like, whoosh, and I shot out of there. That's and then crazy. Later he said, I made you look so good on TV. And I said, no. Thank you for that lesson. Right. Thank you for that lesson before I got, totally trapped. So sometimes you can think that this thing will be amazing for you or your career or whatever, the quote unquote dream. But a lot of times it's, a snake in the grass. And so you got to be very mindful and open and aware that good and bad is lying around. So again, lean into that good.
That's right.
Follow your instincts.
That's right. So many. What did you do growing up that got you into trouble?
I wore makeup before I was allowed to wear makeup. No joke. So as a budding makeup artist, right? Like I'm doing beauty services and my mom was all like, don't grow up too fast, right? Which I appreciate that. So I wasn't allowed to wear makeup until I was 16. But come on, So, and then I didn't just wear makeup. It would be like the brightest red lipstick I could get my hands on. Yeah. And so then sometimes she would pick me up early and then I would get called to the office and I knew, like my friends would be like, your mom's in the parking lot. And I'm like, and I'm trying to get this lipstick off, right? And then now it just made it worse because it looks like I've been making out because my mouth's all red and, and I'm just, it's terrible. So I'm like trying to put my little compact and like, I didn't do anything bad. And so I used to get myself in trouble with that all the time. But it was just me being me, before it was time. Yeah,
that's hilarious. What is your first memory of being really excited?
My 5th birthday was was a really exciting moment because it was a surprise party. And that whole day was really special, but that party was just so next level for me. It was so much, again, love that just kind of smacked me when I came in the room in a wonderful, miraculous way. And it always stuck with me. And I just remember being elated when I came around the corner and, not even knowing that surprise parties existed, not knowing, what that energy was. And so just the excitement that they were feeling and to be showered with that was such a cool thing. Yeah. We actually did this for my son, Julian, on his 5th birthday. We did a surprise party. And I promise you, his face had to be what my face was when I was 5 because he was just so blown away that all these people were there for him and to celebrate him. And so that was a really cool moment. So I would say that one.
I like that. Maybe we'll do a surprise party for my son's next birthday. So 2 more and I'll let you get out of here. Okay. And these are the ones I ask everybody.
Where am I going? I thought, man, come on. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, right. If you had a superpower or ability, what would you choose and why?
If I had a different superpower.
What's the one you have now?
Hello. I listen to my intuition. I have like these secret signal messages that come through that I can decode. Stay with me, Raz. Stay with me, man. And I can create people. Like I can create 2 at one time, we found out. So pretty next level superhuman.
You had help with that.
Shout out to all the moms.
You definitely had help with that though.
Yeah. So a superpower.
J2.
I would love to So my side note, my Halloween costume, Julia wanted us to be superheroes. So I was super pregnant at that time. So I found a costume that said super pregnant because I was pregnant with the twins. And so I like had this cape and it says super pregnant. It's so funny, right? And then we made Josh a costume to match me. Yeah. And it says super stud. And all the parents loved it. They were like, I see what you did there. I see what you did. And all the kids were like, yay, superheroes. But I would love to run as hard as I need to, as far as like physically, like do all the things I want to and not fatigue. That would be great. That would be great. So I'm sure I can figure out how to do that. Yeah. Through some like deeper meditation and stuff and like
drugs. Yeah.
Some CBD. Yeah, you know. I don't know. Maybe I have a different answer next time you ask me.
Found it. Yeah. Found it. Well, yeah. Okay, cool. We'll end with that.
What?
We'll end that. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have something else? Do you have something else you want to say?
No.
Okay.
That's it. You just shut me down. I thought I had another one. It's okay.
I think this was great. I had a good time. The time flew by.
We were here for 6 minutes. I mean, what just happened?
Yeah.
The whole thing's done. So anyways, thank you for, again, all the work that you do on behalf of everybody listening, on behalf of all the people. You look me in the eyes when I'm talking to you. And I'm
Jill, I don't want this right now.
Listen.
I'm scared of it.
I'm so beyond grateful for you and your gift and your talent. Don't be afraid of it. Make sure you hang on to it and you ride it all the way to the top, because your blessings, your power, your gift are in that, and don't be afraid of it. You're meant for it. Okay. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
And thank you for coming on the show.
Anytime.
Being guest for your second round.
Yeah. Maybe the third time they'll like send in some questions for me to answer.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We should do that next time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Look, we already booked a third one. What?
Yeah. Why not?
You got to come on my podcast now.
Okay. I will. What's the name of it?
Jules Loves Me, the podcast.
Cool. And again, how can people find you? Jules Love.
And with the podcast, thanks to you, the Patreon is live and running. So how do we spell that? patreon.com/Jules Loves Me. And you can actually donate to our mission and keep the podcast going. So there's all sorts of awesome perks, including a prayer line that I've established just for my patrons.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. I didn't get to tell you about that.
No, you did.
So there's so much left unsaid. So just say it for the next time.
Definitely.
So they can
the next
find
time
me
would be so completely different.
Always.
You'll be in virtual reality.
Where am I going to be? Hopefully, hopeful. But so you can find me on Patreon, find me on the website, and find me on social media. All just Google Jules Loves Me, and you will find it all.
Awesome. As always, everybody out there, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the Savannah Business Showcase. I hope you enjoyed today's show as much as I did. As always, be the change you want to see in the world. You don't have to have $1 billion to make a difference. You can just go down the road and tell somebody you love them. So I love you guys.
The light in me loves the light in you.
That's right. I love that. You should say that somewhere, on a regular basis.
Maybe.
I'll just mess. And also, shout out to, is it Farrell or Pharrell? Pharrell. Shout out to Pharrell Matthews for coming in and helping out and sitting in. Hopefully he'll have his own show soon.
He was sending us so much good love.
That's right. Yeah, I know.
I was like, hey, Pharrell house. Oh my gosh, that radio voice. Barry White in the house.
I know. All right, so thank y'all for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Peace out.